Michael Beckwith, who is the spiritual leader and founder at Agape, is it Agape Spiritual Center? Is that International Spiritual Center in Los Angeles? Recently has said, it feels like the world has taken a nightmare pill. And it does. And why I bring that up is because if you live and breathe this philosophy, that's a condition, that's an effect. And if we buy into that, if we start feeding that, it just grows. And so did you know, and it's proven because people follow this stuff, for the news, you're going to get 17 stories on negativity before you hear one good story. Now, I was just at a conference in Southern Washington, thank you, in Southern Washington, and there was a neuroscientist there who talked about when we're stressed, our brain cells die. And he showed it on a video. This little brain cell just sitting there, and then it went poop, and it just disappeared. Now, when I was younger, and I drank a lot, and people would say alcohol kills your brain cells, and I'd say, I was 20, who the heck cares? I understand you have millions and millions, and, obviously we don't use all of the ones we have, so woohoo. I'm not 21 anymore, and that video bothered me. Because maybe I still have more brain cells than I use, except if we're designed by the divine, I don't think I ever got too many. The fact that we haven't learned yet how to use all our brain cells, that's a human thing. I don't think that has anything to do with how we were built. And so what I learned was, and it's a practice, and I've done it and thought I was rude, but he suggested for 60 seconds every single day to shift from stress, because stress affects you physically, it affects you emotionally, it affects the people around you. And I used to always say to people, the news probably isn't the healthiest thing to do. Just, don't watch it. And yet what I realized is it's bigger than the news now. You on Facebook? You're getting the news. Are you on Twitter? You're getting the news. Do you open up, in the morning and your screen comes up and somewhere in there's news articles coming at you? Because I don't watch the news. Every day I know what's going on, because every day something comes up where it's like, oh, you want to know about this? Not really. Not that I want to live with my head in the sand, except I want to see things that, how can I change them? And so the exercise he gave, and he said 60 seconds every hour, set your timer on your cell phone. Use your cell phone for good. They're wonderful. You know how I love my cell phone, so I was being facetious. Or he said you could do it for 20 seconds every 20 minutes. And what he suggested is to behave like a cat or a dog when it first wakes up in the morning. And I want you to do this. Stretch. And when you stretch, you yawn. Big yawn. And you do that for a full minute, because what it's telling your body is, oh, they're okay. They're okay. Brain cells are good. And he's proven this. He's a neuroscientist, so I believed him. And so how do we deal with the barrage of a cruel world? If we really live and breathe this philosophy, and it is sometimes, it pushes up against me. It pushes up against our practitioners. And so I know it pushes up against people that are brand new here or have taken a couple classes, like, but I have to say something negative about this person, or I have to make a comment about what's happening here. And Ernest Holmes would say, be for something and against nothing. Find a way to state your truth without making the other person wrong. And it's not easy. It is not easy to look at a situation in the United States like Charlottesville and find something positive. Except when you look at people in San Francisco or the next weekend in Charlottesville or around the country, people that are now having courage to say, enough. Enough. You may not believe everybody on this planet is deserving, and yet there are millions of us that do. Because I truly believe that we have become, or I have become, complacent. And that happens when life is comfortable. We become complacent. We forget that not everybody's life is as comfortable as ours until somebody throws it in our face. And then how do we do things positively? Mother Teresa said that she would never go to an anti-war rally because anti-war feeds what? War. I am against something. Throw a peace rally and I'll be there. I'll show up. I'll support it. I'll give my all to it. That's what that means. Be for something and against nothing. And so some of the things that we're doing here to build that with each other so then we can be that army of good out in the streets. That's what Community First is all about. Really going deep with small groups of people and finding out what is it that I truly believe? And how do I voice that where it's safe with this group of people? So then when I stand up and voice it to others, I feel strong in what I believe. Because sometimes I believe that, I'm going to use the word believe twice, that would never make it through speaking school. Sometimes we believe things and we're afraid to say what we believe. Because what if the person I'm speaking to disagrees with me? Or what if I'm wrong? Here's what's great about beliefs. They're yours. You can't be wrong. I can disagree with you. I absolutely can disagree with you. And I may not believe what you believe, but if they're your beliefs, they're absolutely right because they're yours. They're like your thoughts. And until somebody says, gee, did you ever think that maybe you might stick to that belief forever? That's why we need to talk. So one of the things we're doing as a community starting in September, because I believe it's so important we start to talk instead of spewing sides at each other, is we're going to start to have curated conversations on social justice so we can create an equitable and humane world. Every quarter will be a different subject. And within that quarter, we'll talk about the academic view of what it is. People's experiences will be the second month, and the third month will be a call to action. And by quarter, we're going to do race, religion, sexuality, and politics. Because those are the four subjects I think that absolutely divide us. Because we don't want to listen to anybody. We are so positive. And not that I would ever believe some of the things that some people spew, because I personally think it's hatred. But I'm never going to change anybody's mind if I can't sit down and have a conversation with them. And so I invite you to join us for that. That's going to be the third Tuesday of every month from 7 to 8:30. Facilitated by Bishop Edward Donaldson, that a lot of you know. And a curated conversation is, he will ask two panelists questions, and they'll respond, and then it will be opened up to the audience. 7 to 8:30, third Tuesday of every month, except for the month of December. So those are how we start to shift. How do we do kindness? Did you know that there's a I'm glad you did bring me my notes, Susan. There is a website called dailygood.org. And you can get good news delivered to your mailbox daily. Just think how that would make you feel instead of getting the Seattle Times delivered to your mailbox, which I do. But you need that balance, because negativity causes stress. And we are bombarded with negativity. We are bombarded with that. And what we have to realize, what we teach is it's all God. And sometimes we can look and think that absolutely is not God. That is horrific. That is not God. And yet within every person here on this planet, God is within them. They may not know it. They may feel separate. They may feel superior. They may feel afraid. And that's what I think it is. People who feel superior are really afraid. They're afraid of people taking things away from them. They're afraid, whatever they have been fed. There's a great quote about it's two little children hugging. And they're different, one's white and one's black. And they're hugging. And it says, children aren't born to hate. Nobody's born to hate. We teach that. And as Marianne Williamson said, if you can teach something, then you can love it out of somebody. But if you meet hate with hate, what's going to grow? Hate. And it's hard right now in this country, probably, around the world. It's hard to love something that so pushes up against everything on a human level I believe in. Everything I believe in. And yet I have to figure out a way to go to compassion, to be kind. It's that place in me when I first walked into a center and Reverend Susie Shadle said, when are you going to forgive your ex-husband? Like, never. Why would I do that? He was abusive. Why? Don't ask me to do that. Why would I do that? She goes, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you forgive him. It's not about him. You're still carrying him around with you like a badge or a rock or a big old, cross. And until you let that go, you haven't healed anything within yourself. You've just walked away from a bad situation. It still lives with you because that person is still renting space in your mind, and they're doing it for free. They're occupying space where you could recognize and know love. And it took me a while. And eventually I got to the point that a thought about him would walk across my mind, and I wouldn't go into attack and protect mode with my story. I would go to, okay, there too is the power and presence of love. I didn't start even with that statement. But there too is the power and presence of love. There too is the power and presence of God. I can't control how he behaves on this planet. I can't control how other people behave on this planet. I certainly don't recommend walking up to people that you may not know that are full of hatred and say, there too is the power and presence of love. However, we're living in an energy field. We are absolutely energy beings. I don't understand this, so I can't really talk about it, except that my molecules are so pushed together or vibrating so fast, it created this form. And yet, truly, it's just molecules that are vibrating very, very fast and holding all of this together. Just think about that. And so if that's the truth, I can sit right here and send love anywhere in the world I want to. I think a couple weeks ago I talked about when Greg Braden went on that trip with his Pueblo Indian friend to call in rain. What we could do as a community is call in dryness for southern Texas. Walk outside and feel the sun, and they just energetically push that out so that the weathermen are wrong and this doesn't last till Tuesday. And they'll call it a miracle, or they'll say, ooh, we must have been wrong about the weather. And we can sit back and go, yeah, sure. You were wrong. We have the power to shift the world. Each and every one of us has that power within us to shift our consciousness and to shift consciousness around us, not by saying you have to believe what I believe. By being so magnificent, people will want what you have. And when you do that, that vibrationally will go out into the world. Bigger than Genesis, bigger than Burien, bigger than this state. It will go out and it will vibrate. And people will start to wake up. That's why I'm here. And I hope that's why you're here. Because I don't like living in a cruel world. I really don't. And so I think it's up to us. As Pete opened that song, I love that song. I loved that song in the 60s. I still love that song. You have to start with yourself. You have to respect yourself. How are you showing up? How do you talk about yourself? Do you love yourself enough to be proud of who you are? Do you look in the mirror and instead of saying, oh, I don't like my hair today, and I still got this extra poundage, and guys are like, oh, I'm bald and I never wanted to be bald, or do you look at yourself and go, thank you, God. I don't get how these molecules are being held together to make this, but wow, that's incredible. Thank you, God. Because it's from gratitude that you'll change. It's from gratitude that you'll shift. And so that's our prayer today. Kindness. How many of you got my email yesterday? How many of you have opened it? How many of you have signed up? I know you did. And I know you did. It's a kindness. It's 21 days of kindness. And I'm going to send it out in the newsletter. If you didn't get it, if I don't have your email, give me your email after service. And it basically is a 21-day challenge. And you're going to get an email every day, and it's going to ask you to do something kind, and then you're going to go do that something kind, and then you're going to check it off. I did that. Just imagine, all of us, there's probably 60 of us sitting in the room, 60 people doing kindness for 21 days. That's a shift. That is a shift, and it will help your cells. It will make you more graceful, more loving, and those aches and pains may start to dissipate out of your body. So Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Truly, start to be the change you want to see in the world, because we're the only ones that can. Namaste.